For me, I have always viewed disability as being something that's normal, something that's normal. And I've always felt that everyone in this world is temporarily abled. Everyone is temporarily abled. So when it comes to differently abled, you are just treating me differently. But in my country, there aren't ramps. I can't go out of my house without facing three or four barriers. So technically, I am disabled. I am not differently abled. You are disabling me. So I would rather just acknowledge the elephant in the room. Let's move on. We have more pressing issues to talk about. And let's advocate and let's talk about them rather than just focusing on terminology. We try to focus on being more politically correct than rather focusing on the issues at hand. And honestly, when people correct me and when I say that I'm disabled, that's the term that I prefer. I am disabled. When I say disabled, people say, no, no, you're differently abled. I'm like, wait a second. Are you bothered by the terminology or do you think it's hurting me? So please let's clarify that. And it's usually the other way around. It's usually them feeling that the word disability or disabled is offensive when it really isn't. So for me, it's always been disabled. And that is why consent regarding terminology is also very important regarding labels. For me, it's disabled. For Malvika, it could be something else. And that's totally okay. It's on perspective, but it's also about consent. So that's those are my two cents.
Thank you. So I do understand, like, it was really good that you mentioned you are disabled in a way where the surrounding is not the fact that the railways, it was disabled because there was not a ramp. Like, if there was a ramp, you would still be able to, like, go on with your work, and you're okay with. So thank you for touching that. I think it would have answered many people's, because I remember this fact differently able coming up, and people were urging people to use it, but not probing into the actual meaning of why we're using it. So Dr. Malvika, is there anything that you would like to share?
I think environmental barriers, we really, even I have felt that I have limited mobility in my legs. And since I don't have hands, for me, using public transportation all by myself will definitely be a challenge. And the first time the metro was introduced in India and I could buy a card. So it was very simple. I just had to show the card and I could, walk in and out by myself. But I could not do that, say, in a bus, because then I'll have to look for change, money, not being able to sit. And I think that whole ordeal would have been very difficult for me to travel, in any other means of public transportation. So similarly, if the environment, so this is what the social model of disability advocates for. If it is not the disability many times does not lie with the person, many times it is the environment or the attitude around us. That's what we need to work on. And I personally feel that if the workplace, if the building is accessible, and for me, for example, in my house where I live with my husband, my kitchen is very accessible. I have, like, he likes to collect a lot of spices, but they are all on a top shelf. But I want to cook as well, so I have a bottom shelf where I store all my spices. I have made it accessible that I want to be able to use my knives or my utensils. Everything I have arranged in a way that I can just go into the kitchen if somebody comes, or if I am hungry, he is hungry, I can just make something quickly and we can eat. I may not be able to do that in every kitchen. So does it mean that I am disabled, I can't cook, or does it mean the environment is not? So I think what she rightly pointed out, if we make the environment accessible, I think we can be very independent, and that is all we need. The terminologies, or I use the word disabled. Of course, I don't have hands. It's so obvious. You cannot expect me to put sui mein dhaga, like it's like needle thread. I cannot do it. It is very obvious. That doesn't take away the fact that there are things that I can do. So when I use that I'm disabled or I am a person with disability, I like to call myself that. I have been told that, oh no, don't call yourself disabled. You are truly able, or you are specially abled. I don't think I feel bad when I call myself a person. It's just something. I am a woman. I don't feel bad that I'm a woman. Same way, I'm a person with disability. And I like all words, but like she very rightly pointed out, we need to invest our time, because what challenges she has, I think it's perhaps even greater. For me, I can still take a few steps, but to not have a ramp, and I can't imagine how you would, then go to a place if there are no ramps. So I think it is very difficult for us. to make our environment, to make our workplace, to make our homes accessible. And then maybe we can, talk about what word to use and not trying to fix people with, disabilities. Yeah.
So I'm very glad that we touched on this topic, because I think that answers a lot of questions. Correct me if I'm wrong. The word that you used, environmental